What's a good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So, day 12 of New York Jets training camp is in the books. Big day for injury news and some, roster movement, right? So, we had linebacker Quincy Williams. He left with an injury. Not sure what that was. Left guard Laken Tomlinson left with an injury. Not sure what his deal was. We seen defensive end Jermaine Johnson. He left with an injury. Saleh mentioned that he ended up just holding him out. It sounded like Jermaine Johnson could have returned. Carl Lawson was out today. That was due to back tightness and more of a precaution. We seen cornerback Bryce Hall, a no-show for practice, and then quarterback Chris Streveler as a no-show for practice. So pretty interesting. Definitely a hit to the defensive line. It brought back some question marks about why Bryce Huff played so often during the preseason. And, Saleh cited our depth as a main reason, right? Somebody's going to have to play at some point. And Bryce Huff, it makes sense because you want to see if there's any extra juice maybe you can get out of him again. I'm sure a lot of that is evaluating the run defense. We know Cleveland's a run-oriented team, so kind of makes sense. But nonetheless, in terms of Laken Tomlinson being out, the immediate replacement for him ended up being Wes Schweitzer. So it seems like he's the immediate guard depth here, which is interesting because he's also supposed to be, dead heat in the middle of that center competition. But that parlays us into some other good news. But for what it's worth, at least in terms of all of these injuries, it doesn't seem like there was any immediate concern from Robert Saleh. So ideally, we should be fully stacked for the most part heading into joint practices with the Carolina Panthers. Now, we did talk about our two new linebacker recruits that ended up coming on the heels of Hamza Nasruddin and Malik Hall actually being cut, which sucks. I was a big Malik Hall fan, but I'm sure we'll find a way to bring him back on. But if we want to just talk apples and apples here, we did upgrade two proven veterans, each leaning on different bits of experience. Nick Vigil, the better overall player with starting experience, and then what was it, Iguavin or something like that, Sam, being more of a special teams reliable player who has some upside as maybe a spot starter. But in terms of our actual practice, this was by far the best day from the offense by all accounts of what I've seen. An extremely good day for not only the running backs, but it seemed like the tight ends were featured heavily often, and they made all of the big plays. So we had all of the tight ends. We had Jeremy Ruckert actually getting first team snaps with Aaron Rodgers. Now he actually made the first catch of practice, so we're seeing him get incorporated pretty heavily here, and it might be brushed under the rug a little bit, but I do think it shouldn't be taken lightly that Jeremy Ruckert is earning first team snaps. Now, will he go out there and actually be a starter at any point this season? Probably unlikely, but I think I think Ron Middleton and the rest of his offensive coaching staff really wants to see just how far of a progression Jeremy Ruckert has made. And there was a pretty strong offseason for him being healthy. He had a pretty strong game to end the year last year. He went to tight end university from what I'm understanding, and he was there for 2 months kind of honing his craft. So very, very excited for him. We seen Sauce in the entire practice session with the 100-plus yard interception return touchdown, peeled off of his man, was able to make an interception where Aaron Rodgers was targeting Corey Davis. So awesome to see that, right? I think the last time we had anything close to that was Darrelle Revis versus the Dolphins, I think, and I don't even know what year that was in, but I want to say that's the last time we had an interception that long. Granted, this is practice. That was a real-time game scenario, but still, very, very cool moment for the team overall. We seen running back Israel Bandikanda. He made a big screenplay today, which I definitely think suits him, right? Anything where he's going to be able to attack the edge, and we've seen it during the Browns, he was able to just outrun and burst past people, is going to suit his skill set. In between the tackles, he can do damage, definitely if he gets a hold there, but as Robert Saleh mentioned as well, that's where we're going to want to see a lot more of his development going north to south as opposed to east to west. But impressive practice from Mekhi Becton, so he carries over, technically he had 11 snaps. From what I recall, it was 7 on the actual offensive line, and then it was 4 as a special teams blocker. But from what we saw, all of the breakdowns and things that I reviewed from different people covering the Jets this season, by all accounts, was definitely an impressive performance. And for this particular practice, it seemed like Mekhi Becton far and away blew out Billy Turner when it came to the positional battles and competition. So this is the version of Mekhi Becton we definitely want to see going forward. I say this all the time. It was never about talent. It was about durability and availability with him. So maybe he's finally rearing a corner and kind of gaining some steam, right? If nothing else, I think the plan that Robert Saleh and his staff is rolling out is perfect. A lot of us definitely want to see Mekhi Becton on the field for an entire game, but he needs to ramp up. 2 years off, you know how shaky those leg injuries and stuff are going to be, especially for a man of his size. He took a lot of weight off, but it still is a lot to ask from a guy that basically hasn't been able to do his job for 2 years. So hopefully this is a sign of good things to come. Definitely a good way to lean into these Carolina joint practices that will be coming up. We also got why did I want to say improvement? We got a promotion for Joe Tippmann. He ended up having a strong game against the Cleveland Browns. And whether this was due to the injury to Laken Tomlinson and Wes Schweitzer moving over, or it was due to just what the coaching staff saw in him, Joe Tippmann was promoted to second string for about 2 or 3 series for this particular practice. So glad to see that he's being more heavily involved and we're seeing the progress, right? One of the things that impressed me the most when I was checking out some of the film breakdowns with Joe Tippmann is not only was he able to go out there and meet some of his guys in the second line of defense when he was able to as an active blocker, but we seen him position his body very well to create angles on cutbacks, which we just couldn't really take as much advantage of. But pretty strong couple of days for Tippmann. A very strong day by Michael Carter. I heard he was breaking open plays all over the place this practice, springing free. So it was good to see that he's finally making a name for himself once again. And then overall, strong practice in terms of our pass rush. But Jermaine Johnson was the feature name here. He beat Billy Turner all day. From what I heard prior to him having to come out and then being forced to sit out by Saleh, he picked up 3 sacks for the day. So very, very strong practice. I'm very happy with where we're at. I can't wait to see what our first string unit looks like. Hopefully we get that during the Giants, even if it's just a 1 or 2 series tune-up. But if not, then that makes that first game of the season versus the Bills so much more enticing because, from all accounts, we have been absolutely shredding the offense just in terms of being able to live in the backfield. And so, I think more people are buying into the fact that Jermaine Johnson could potentially be our first double-digit sack guy after Quinnen Williams here. So we'll see. Him continuing his streak of playing with the first team definitely bodes well. It makes Carl Lawson's pay cut definitely look a lot better for us if he does end up being bounced down to second string. But let me know what your guys' thoughts were about practice, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.